5:30 on WVNY TV.
Good evening, I'm Hugh Downs.
And I'm Barbara Walters, and this is 2020.
From ABC News, around the world and into your home, the stories that touch your life with Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters. This is 2020. Tonight, gather the whole family around. 2020 takes you on a flight you will never forget. He dreamed of leading a migration of geese to show them the way south. A wondrous adventure that's never been attempted.
You're high.
You've never seen this before. Nature, nurture, and man-made wings. Will the birds follow him south? Will hunters spoil the dream? Bob Brown with a story you've been waiting for. A tale of incredible beauty and soaring vision. One man's dream come true. The journey of Father Goose. And a beautiful home on the beach. You don't own it, but if nature acts up, it's your problem.
We're the ones who help rebuild these private residences, although we never get a weekend there.
They can build again and again in the very same spot at taxpayer expense.
This is welfare for you rich people.
And our John Stossel is one of them. This is his house by the sea. Like the others, you'll never get to enjoy it. But in one way, you're paying for it. Plus, they called her the Enchantress, a woman of wealth, power, and international romance. Pamela Harriman.
It is no secret that a great many important men have been in love with you.
An eyewitness to great moments in history.
I state your name.
Now, the U.S. ambassador to France.
I'm a very normal human being who's lived a very interesting life.
Barbara Walters with one of the most influential women in American politics, the enchanting ambassador. Those stories tonight, November 26th, 1993, after this brief message.
You build a new razor with a precision groove to help the Norelco lift and cut system shave closer than ever before. And what do you get? The new Norelco razors, our closest shave ever.
Craftsman Tools, one of the best gifts ever. Like this Craftsman 53-piece mechanics tool set, or this 3-drawer tool chest. Your choice, just $39.99. Craftsman, only at Sears, your home for the holidays.
A few weeks ago, we showed you a little preview of the piece you're about to see, and the response was absolutely amazing. Tonight, we present the whole wonderful saga. It's the story of a man who became mother and father to a flock of geese to see if he could fly with them. And believe it or not, he did. It's an extraordinary story, don't you think so, Hugh?
I think it's the most beautiful story that we've had on 2020 in its 15 years. What led us to it was the remarkable footage taken by this very unusual man. He had a dream and a plan to make it happen. Could he lead these birds in flight? Well, Bob Brown has been following this incredible experiment, and tonight you'll see the results.
This is the story of a flight unlike any that has ever been attempted before, of a strange kinship between a young squadron of geese and a contraption that looks as if you dreamed it into the sky, and a man known as Father Goose.
In truth, I'm like a lot of kids that, want to fly like a bird. There's a timelessness to it,
Father Goose is a 54-year-old Canadian sculptor named Bill Lishman, a man who believed that using an ultralight aircraft, he could somehow lead in flight an actual migration of geese south out of Canada. There is a point to his flight of fancy, because the techniques he dreamed up could be used to help restore some endangered birds to migration patterns they have long since forgotten. Many birds simply don't fly their traditional migratory routes because at some point a generation or more ago, the adult population was injured or exterminated and that long chain of knowledge was broken. But if birds can learn to fly behind a human leader who will show them a safe migratory route, the hope is they will remember the way on their own, and they in turn will show new generations.
It's amazing. They've got some method of learning the ground as they go over. I thought, boy, we could carry that into another realm, and that's where we're at now.
He's persistent, and it really is, you know, he can see an end in sight. I mean,
Lishman's wife, Paula, knew that once he was hooked on the romance of the idea, he wouldn't give it up.
It's going back to the real primal drive of looking at a bird in flight and, you know, being able to experience that firsthand.
You're high, go around.
But what audacity to think you could join a masterpiece of nature and share even a wing stroke of its world.
They always go long.
Who is this man? Well, he lives on Purple Hill in the Canadian countryside north of Lake Ontario. His house, which he designed himself, is built into the hillside and filled with his ideas and inventions, including this pop-up refrigerator. Around the outskirts of his property, you find evidence of how Bill Lishman earns his living as a sculptor of metals in particular, whose work has been displayed and sold worldwide.
You go through the whole list of his accomplishments, things he's done, the underground house, the sculpture. You go through the whole list and people start to go, well, this is an unusual guy, you know.
Joe Duff is a photographer and ultralight pilot who joined up with Lishman's migration project to fly the second aircraft that's necessary to keep the geese herded together.
He needed the help, and I wanted to help, so I put everything on the back burner and do this full time.
Recruiting a free spirit like Joe Duff is one thing, but what made his geese so attached to Bill Lishman? It began the moment these young goslings hatched from eggs collected under Canadian wildlife permits and placed in an incubator. Because of a natural phenomenon called imprinting, birds believe the first moving object they see is their parent. So as they peck their way out of the egg and open their eyes in the nursery, there's Bill Lishman. To them, he's Father Goose. Like any proud parent, he's taken hours of home video.
What's amazing to me is how much they are born with. You know, they have the instinct to fly. They know how to fly. So it's obviously, you know, millions and millions of years of evolution in there that comes through in the egg.
From his first group of goslings in 1986, Lishman, often with his daughter Carmen by his side, has raised 3 generations like a father, running down Purple Hill, carrying a tape recorder that accustoms the geese very early in life to the sound of an ultralight engine.
A lot of the family got involved. Carmen had 5 geese that she'd run around with these little goslings following after her. And the amount of dedication is quite amazing. Just the hours and hours that are spent every day.
No one had ever prepared geese to migrate behind a man-made flying machine before, and so Lishman was on his own as an experimenter. But that was nothing new. Lishman didn't know how to fly when he started out either, not even a hang glider, much less something with an engine. Bill Lishman is not a conventional man, but he is a stubborn one. As he continued to instruct his geese, Lishman put his skill as a metal sculptor to work in building frames behind which the young birds could scamper on the ground, now learning to regard something like an ultralight as their group leader. And finally, everything falls into place. At around 10 weeks of age, the geese are ready to use their wings. They pursue the ultralight as it takes to the air, and in a matter of seconds, they have soared into formation behind it. It is a heart-stopping sight. Lishman flying steadily in the lead, Joe Duff in a chase aircraft fast enough to bring the birds back into formation if they put on a burst of speed. But even as these unlikely companions became accustomed to each other, their flights always started and ended here at Lishman's Purple Hill Aerodrome. And when the first 2 generations of geese that Lishman had raised reached adulthood, they left Purple Hill for good.
You know, at that point they're equivalent to teenagers, and Dad, we're leaving home. You know, and they, you know, they've got the mating instinct at that point, and they're more interested in other geese, and you've played your role.
So it was this generation of geese, his third, that Bill Lishman hoped to lead on a migration. His dream had been deferred until this year because it had required such complex permissions from both the Canadian and U.S. governments, as well as a place to go. The most important solution was here, 400 miles to the south at Airlie Center, Virginia. Here, a scientist named William Sladen, who keeps a sanctuary for trumpeter swans, issued an invitation to Lishman and his geese. There's plenty of room and good care if you can really make it.
If this works, then we can use it on rare birds like the trumpeter swan, and particularly the whooping crane, which is very endangered, and show them a safe migration route that they don't have to do by chance.
Are you worried about hunters on this trip?
The only thing I worry about is it's goose hunting season right now. There's a little worry that way. But we're leaving home.
A month into autumn, on a 39-degree morning at 6 a.m. It is Wednesday, October 19th, 1993. With a light wind stirring from the north-northeast and the sound of the ultralights drifting across the fields, the weather was right and the young Canada geese were ready. And finally, this strange collaboration of instinct and engine answered the ancient call to go south. The first day was the one that Lishman worried about most, the day they would encounter 36 miles of open water over Lake Ontario.
The most difficult part in my head right now is getting across Lake Ontario, because we have to fly about 3 hours, and we were concerned that the geese wouldn't last that long to start with, and there's always that nagging doubt that the engine might quit on you.
From above, they could see the chase boat for which Lishman had arranged if that worst-case scenario came true. On the other side of the lake, in a field near Gaines, New York, was a gathering of local spectators, some of whom weren't sure exactly what was going to happen. There's a man in the air leading some birds across the lake.
Downey, this is Papa Zulu November. We're 2 minutes out, and the geese are approximately 10 minutes behind us.
By 10 a.m., advance spotters reported they had seen the geese near American shores. And shortly afterward, they appeared in the sky, having crossed the Great Lake. It seemed almost too good to be true. Down came Bill Lishman, who always lands first, so the geese will come in after him. But geese are wary of new locations and didn't feel like kissing American soil just yet.
Keep everybody back, eh? They're headed north again. Maybe you better go round them up.
Joe Duff went back up to lead them around again, and it was starting to look very dicey. Listen to what was happening within shouting distance of the field, the gunshots of hunters.
No, I'm starting to worry.
The hunters were shooting at other game, but geese aren't deaf, and they were being very conservative. Finally, they heeded the calls of Father Goose from the clearing below and descended. Each goose, around a dozen pounds beneath 5 feet of wingspread, dropping into a trademark touchdown. Leg one was done, but there was one other detail that migrating geese have never had to face before.
Okay, that's an entry document. It shows that you're admitted to the United States as a B-1 visitor for business purposes.
Meet Carla Hengerer, senior examiner for the U.S. Immigration and Naturalization Service in Buffalo, New York.
Terrific, thank you very much.
Welcome to the United States.
Thank you, thank you.
Into the pens that had been trucked across the border for them went the geese. Weather would keep them grounded for another 3 days. And then they began a series of hops that took them through New York to near Williamsport and Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, where they rested on Monday, October 25th. By that day, at the bird sanctuary where Dr. Sladen waited at Airlie Center, Virginia, there was clearly the probability that the crazy scheme of Father Goose was going to work.
He's up in the air. It's just a perfect day for migration. He was flying right over Pennsylvania this morning. It's wonderful.
Is it interfering with the natural process to lead this migration?
No, I don't think so. These birds not only imprinted on Bill Lishman, but they're imprinted on each other. They're all pals. It's a little family group.
You're flying over the planet with these creatures, and it sort of paints the Earth over, cruising along with these beings that have been flying across this planet for millions of years. It's just an absolute phenomenal feeling.
More than 400 miles they had flown at average speeds of 30 to 32 miles an hour and altitudes as high as 3,700 feet above sea level. 18 geese, magnificent to watch. As Lishman flew beside them, wingtip to fingertip, he could even watch them breathe. But the great secret that Bill Lishman could not share, the secret that they and all birds keep, is how they remember the way.
When you land in Virginia, is it going to be like Lindbergh making it to
To me, it will be. To me, it will be. I don't think we'll have the crowds and everything else, but it'll be my personal Lindbergh flight for sure.
At sunset on October 25th, 1993, that long journey ended. From the ground, we could count as they approached and circled, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 18. They were all coming in.
What a day today was.
As soon as they landed, tired from the day's flight, they were taken to the pen that had been prepared for them. Everyone there that evening followed Bill Lishman. The geese will winter here, and then the test will come. Will they return to Purple Hill without Father Goose? Will they remember this flight? As for Bill Lishman and Joe Duff, when it was all done and everyone was gone, we saw them flying alone in the darkening sky, climbing and circling and climbing again as if they couldn't quite let it all go. They will remember.
Beautiful, beautiful sight. Bob, he got him there. Now, how are they going to get back?
He's going to go back there in the spring and give them their exercise and fly them around again, and then lead them back to Purple Hill, to his home in Canada. And the real test comes next fall to see whether they migrate on their own, and if and when they do, whether they go back to Airlie Center, at least some of them.
How's he going to know when he gets down there that these are the same geese?
Well, the geese were banded. They had Wildlife Service bands around their legs, and since they've gotten there, they've also put neck bands on some of them so they can spot them
from the air. Even, yeah. Great, great, Bob. Thank you very much.
What a joy.
Oh,
Fly. Think we could all fly? Well, next, you've seen waterfront homes destroyed by the power of nature. But have you ever wondered why owners rebuild them in the very same spot? There's a good reason, and you probably won't like it. When we come back, John Stossel explains with some embarrassment.
We were 3 days out of Dakar on the Queen Elizabeth II. I was right in the middle of an apricot flambe.
Captain, I'm afraid we've just run out of Colombian coffee. Run out, Mr. Harwood? Full about, Mr. Roberts. Engine room, full speed.
So we turned back. Under the circumstances, it was the only civilized thing we could do.
100% Colombian coffee, the richest coffee in the world. To build a Mercedes-Benz that's technologically innovative, safe, roomy, with exceptional handling is to be expected. But to do it for under $30,000, now that's a feat of engineering. Introducing the Mercedes-Benz C-Class.
Wait a minute. You tell me they pick up half the tab on whoever I call most?
Sprint announces a radical new offer when you switch to the most.
Get out of here.
It's true. Sprint will split the bill on whoever you call most.
Right. Who's gonna believe a thing like that?
I have it. They split it. See? It pays to listen to your friends.
Call now and save 50% with Sprint's calling plan, the most.
Morning, folks. Morning. Christmas is coming. What do we got?
What about Milton Bradley's Flying Thunder game? You gotta see this. Kids get to pilot their own mini helicopter for just $37.88.
We've got Milton Bradley's hot new Ask Xandar. It's a fortune-telling game for teen and preteen girls, and it's on sale for $32.88.
I've got this beautiful Beco bed in a bag with comforter sheets, pillowcases, shams, and a dust ruffle. $59.99 any size, even king.
All right, let's keep smiling and take care of those customers.
Caldor, bring home the difference.
Sunday, a brand new perfume
What you working on?
is driving him wild with desire.
The perfume. It made all of us fall wildly in love.
Come to Mama.
Please, get a grip.
Oh, believe me, I'd love to.
Lois and Clark, Sunday.
Tuesday on NYPD Blue.
What's going on with you?
The mob moves in on Kelly's girlfriend.
We want you to stop picking up a second paycheck again.
But his hands are tied.
And let me figure out how I'm going to deal with this.
I don't know how to help you.
NYPD Blue, Tuesday. Viewer discretion advised.
You hear an awful lot of talk about reforming the welfare state. People complaining the government spends too much money on poor people. But you should know that the government also spends lots of your tax dollars subsidizing rich people. And tonight, we're going to give you a good example. A house by the sea is a luxury reserved for the privileged few, but even they might have a hard time affording it without your help. What do we mean by that? Well, John Stossel has a personal interest in this story, so we'll let him explain.
Oh, the good life, full of fun, seems to be the ideal. The good life.
Oh, there's nothing like a house on the beach. Sound of the surf, beautiful views, clean air. That's why, about 15 years ago, I bought some beachfront property here on Long Island, New York, and built this house.
Now, this was a big investment for me. The down payment took just about all my savings. And it was a risky move, considering what can happen to people who build on the edges of oceans. Of course, this house doesn't have much sand to protect it. My property has plenty of sand and such a high dune that from the beach, you can't even see the whole house.
Still, my father told me, don't do it. It's too risky. You shouldn't build so close to an ocean. So I hesitated. What finally persuaded me to go ahead and build was the government.
There is something that will protect you from the terrible cost of rebuilding. It's National Flood Insurance. It's backed by the government and available to the people who need it most.
It was National Flood Insurance that made my house and my neighbors' homes possible. After all, no bank will give you a mortgage unless you have insurance. Private insurance companies were reluctant to sell insurance around here. And were they to offer it, they'd charge an arm and a leg to cover the risk.
But this wasn't a problem for me because you offered to insure my house. Now, I know you didn't do it personally, but you, as a taxpayer, are the guarantee behind federal flood insurance. Should a big storm wipe out half the coast, you'll cover our losses. Thanks. We appreciate it. But is this good public policy?
If you want to live on the coast, live on the coast. Don't involve the pocket of a taxpayer in Topeka, Kansas, who doesn't get the ocean view.
Beth Milliman is executive director of the Coast Alliance, an environmental group that's critical of all the ways in which taxpayers subsidize those of us who build in risky places.
When nature acts as nature will, we're the ones who help rebuild these private residences, although we never get a weekend there.
Not only does the government offer me guaranteed insurance, you're also giving me free sand. Up and down the coast, the Army Corps of Engineers has dumped sand on hundreds of beaches. They're now spending $6 million to replace sand that eroded from my beach. I wonder how smart this is, since one study of replenishment projects found The new sand usually washes away within 5 years.
Now, any kid who's ever sat on the beach with a shovel and a bucket has watched erosion, has watched the tides, and probably knows more than many of the people designing these beach renourishment projects. Because the simple fact of the matter is, it ain't going to stay on the shore.
Still, the government keeps pumping. And if the Army Corps doesn't protect our houses, so what? National Flood Insurance will help us build new ones. So build away. Why not? You can't really lose. The subsidized insurance goes to affluent homeowners here in Malibu, where the movie stars live, and in Kennebunkport, where George Bush has his home, and here in the Hamptons, where I bought. And the premiums are a bargain. The most I've ever paid is a few $100s. Federal actuaries say if the insurance were realistically priced, it would cost us several $1,000s. Congress is now considering raising the rates, but why should the government guarantee water's edge insurance at all? Why should the government even be in this business?
I think it saves federal tax dollars.
James Lee Witt runs the Federal Emergency Management Administration for President Clinton.
If this insurance wasn't there, okay, then people would be building in those areas anyway, okay? Then it would cost the American taxpayers more dollars if a disaster hit that community and destroyed it.
Because you would have to offer disaster relief otherwise?
That's right.
Whenever there's a very destructive storm, the government rushes in to offer emergency disaster relief. After last summer's floods, President Clinton quickly pledged $6 billion to help people rebuild. Ironically, National Flood Insurance was created to save the government money on disaster relief. 25 years ago, politicians said, "We spend so much on emergency relief after every flood, why don't we try to get some money up front by selling flood insurance? We'll price it cheap to encourage lots of people to buy. Then at least we'll collect some premiums." As so often happens, the program had unintended consequences. The cheap insurance has encouraged more people to build on the beach. So the insurance risk is now huge. Today, $240 billion in property is guaranteed by Uncle Sam.
That's a stupid policy.
Geologist Orrin Pilkey at Duke University has been one of the most persistent critics of the government's policies. He says both disaster relief and federal flood insurance just encourage people to stay in harm's way.
The flood victim says, but this is my only land right next to the Mississippi or right next to the Gulf of Mexico.
We've got to get around this sympathy at all costs for people who are suffering from natural disasters, and we've got to say,
just
you
be
can't.
tough love, say too bad.
Tough love. It's too bad.
Should we just walk away and not say, we're not going to help you?
If I were a drunk driver who kept wrecking my car, should there be federal car insurance to make sure I have cheap car insurance?
Well, maybe that's something we need to look at too. I don't know.
But you're encouraging them to live in a risky place.
No, we're not. I disagree with you.
But you are. I wouldn't have built in the ocean if
you
did,
didn't you?
Because you, thank you,
not me.
gave me insurance.
But you bought the insurance, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you?
Eagerly.
Did you have to elevate your home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Elevating your house is required if you want to get federal flood insurance. You have to put your house on stilts. If there's a storm, the water then will just go under the house. I was glad they required this because 6 years ago, 200 feet of my beach just went away. It wasn't even a hurricane, just 3 days of east winds, and suddenly I had real beachfront property. Still, the house survived because of the stilts, and what a view.
Of course, most private insurance companies would be wisely reluctant to insure houses like these. Only Uncle Sam is a big enough sucker. And when this happened to me, Uncle Sam didn't even raise my premiums. And that's how it should be, say many of my neighbors and others who live on the beach.
People like this group who own property on the New Jersey shore. They say federal flood insurance is good for America.
We create a lot of employment here, and look at the dishwashers and the chefs and the waitresses and the waiters.
We provide a relief valve for the economy, for the people that live here
in this country.
The
The
relief
people that work,
valve?
yeah. The beach is the most popular destination for vacation in this country. They can come here and they have a place to take a shower at the end of the day. They have amusements. They have restaurants.
And they don't have beach property.
No,
But
but
they
they
use
can
it?
come here for their 2 weeks.
Rent.
This is welfare for you rich people.
I have a big problem with that word rich. I am not rich. I have one house.
People who are making $25,000 will have to pay their taxes. The deficit will
taxes do they-
increase to
what
pay for
taxes
the
do they
next
pay?
disaster to protect you.
Paying
for their disaster?
That's right.
Who's paying for the Mississippi right now?
The taxpayer.
All of us
That's
are
right.
paying. We're taxpayers.
They've bailed out the S&Ls and they help the farming people.
So since there's welfare for all these other rich people,
it's not- I don't
you
think
should
it's
get some too.
I don't think it's I don't consider it welfare. I think it's sound management is what it is. It's got nothing to do with welfare.
And so it goes. We property owners keep asking for more, and the government often gives it to us. My road keeps washing out. The taxpayers rebuild it. Now they're giving us all this sand.
So what do you think of people like me who build on beaches?
I think you're a vandal. Extremely costly to our society.
I'm a bad person?
You're a bad person.
A few years ago, I got a call from a friend. Happy New Year, he said. Your house is gone. And it was. I'm now standing on what used to be my property. During a fairly ordinary storm, the ocean just dug up the sand under the pilings and took the whole house away.
There it was the next day, on the front page of the newspaper. I'd always wanted to make front page news, though not like this. I think that white thing is my refrigerator door. 2 days later, all traces were gone.
It was an upsetting loss for me, but financially, I didn't lose a penny. National Flood Insurance paid for the house and its contents. And now that you're paying to replenish my beach, it's possible that my neighbors and I will build our houses again, and you'll insure us again. Thanks.
You're welcome. I certainly am glad that Hugh and I and the rest of us are paying for your summer vacations.
I'd think you'd resent it.
Well, I do a bit, don't we all? But aren't you working against your own interests?
Yes, I feel a little conflicted doing this story. I'm sure some of my neighbors will hate me, but I think it's a boondoggle, and it would be hypocritical not to call it one.
Even though you take the money, however, will there be a change in the insurance, do you think?
Yes and no. There's no plan to get the government out of this business. Once the government has a program, it almost never gets out. But there is a bill that would raise the rates and say to new people building on the edge of the ocean that they would not be covered, and that would reduce the risk. But there's resistance to that. People have come to feel entitled to cheap, subsidized insurance.
Well, I'm sure most of us didn't know this, and we thank you for working against yourself.
And would it cost us any less if we pay you direct?
I'll take it direct, sure.
Good job. When we come back, a woman who seems to fascinate men. She's been linked politically with Winston Churchill and President Clinton, and romantically with many more. Pamela Harriman. Why is she called the Enchantress? You'll find out when Barbara interviews her next.
AT&T says MCI only saves you pennies. Well, if that's true, why doesn't AT&T give them to you?
Hello.
So, what'd you think of that Bonneville? Did you drive it?
Oh, that SSCI is terrific.
Yeah.
Supercharged, traction control, ABS, dual airbags, leather. What a car.
I told you.
And you were right. It's thousands less than the BMW or the Lexus.
Well?
I'm picking it up tomorrow. I owe you one, pal.
Okay. I'll take a white one.
Do you dream in color? In bottomless blues and screaming yellows? In sounds that shake you to the bottom of your heart? In images clear as crystal and brilliant as ice? In faraway worlds as close as your fingertips? These are what dreams and Sony Trinitron televisions are made of. Make one come true for you. It's your life. Isn't it worth a Sony?
How big is the Ace Hardware Really Big Sale?
It's, you know, it's...
So check out the Ace Hardware Really Big Sale now.
It's big.
The thing is, 2 scoops of raisins make Kellogg's Raisin Bran taste so good, people forget it's good for them. What do you think?
Tastes good.
And?
It's delicious.
That's the same thing. See, it's Kellogg's, remember? So it tastes good and it's good for you.
Right, I forgot.
That's all right. Let's try again.
It tastes good.
And?
It's tasty.
And?
It's really tasty.
There are 2 reasons to eat Kellogg's Raisin Bran. The taste.
And?
Monday, want to be immortal? These people claim they know the secret, but it will cost you.
You're going to have to start making money, all of you in this room.
A scam or a fountain of youth. Immortality for sale. Forrest Sawyer, Day 1, Monday at 8, 7 Central.
Saturday on the commish when Stan's fiancée is caught in the act.
What are you saying? She's an armed robber and I'm an idiot?
Stan puts his badge on the line.
You could have been killed here without backup.
You'd have done different if it was Rachel?
Yeah, I would have called it in.
Is she a hood or a hostage? The commish, Saturday.
She cast her spell over many of the world's most important men. They call her the Enchantress, Pamela Harriman. Her life has been filled with wealth and power, romance and scandal. The Enchanting Ambassador, when 2020 continues after this from our ABC stations.
At MVP Health Plan, over 90 cents from every dollar goes for your health care, not our overhead. We save the biggest piece for you.
Buick announces value pricing on 2 of their most popular models. Now you can choose a brand new Buick Skylark for the incredible low price of only $13,995, or a new Buick Century for only $14,995. Both cars are equipped with a driver's side airbag and anti-lock brakes, air conditioning, cruise control, power locks, power windows, and more. Never has Buick offered so much equipment and value at such an affordable price. Discover Made in America value today at your local North Country Buick dealer.
We're out here looking for people who have tried New Mott's Fruit Basket, the unfrozen concentrate.
Basket. Yeah, I tried it. We both love it.
1 can makes a whole pitcher full.
No fine. Just add water and stir.
No lugging, heavy jug.
Fruit basket's easier to carry home.
Well, it's concentrated. Not frozen, where the bottled juices are.
Tastes like fruit, more fruit.
There's an awful lot of flavor in that little can. I love it.
New Mott's Fruit Basket Juice Drink Concentrate.
Once you tried it, you just can't get it off your mind.
Coming up tonight on Headlines at 11, the day after Thanksgiving means the start of the Christmas shopping season. We'll have a report from the University Mall as the crowds pile into the stores. And also starts the ski season here in Vermont. We'll have a reaction as well.
Weather-wise, we're slowly coming out of the deep freeze. Today we actually reached the freezing mark in the Burlington area. Looks like milder air for the weekend. We'll give you details with the forecast coming up later.
We'll also take a look at sports, and it's Friday, so of course we'll have our Pet of the Week at 11.
Roseanne, weekdays at 5 and 5:30 on WVNY TV.
From ABC News, 2020 continues. Once again, Barbara Walters.
Romance with famous men, political clout, beauty, intellect. Those are some of the ingredients in the life of the intriguing woman you're about to meet. She is this country's ambassador to France, and she's a political powerhouse who helped boost Bill Clinton into the White House. And at the age of 73, she still has a reputation as an enchantress of men. Let me introduce you to Pamela Harriman.
I state your name.
Pamela Harriman.
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend
Do solemnly swear I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
that I will bear.
She is Her Excellent